Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Jaleesa. Today we are going to do a reading on Sam Cooke. So a couple of years ago, my dad was listening to one of his songs while he was working. He used to listen to Pandora, and Sam Cooke's song Cupid came on the radio, and it was a song I've listened to since I was a kid because that was something he was into. And while we were listening to it, my dad said, "Oh yeah, by the way, he was murdered." I'm like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah. It was really suspicious, and it's even though they haven't they per se, it's a closed case. It was really suspicious to the point where it's almost like it's unsolved." So I, of course, had to look into it. And I was watching a bit of a documentary on it, and I'll link that in the description box below, the one that I watched. And it's really suspicious how, it just, things didn't seem right. Things didn't seem to add up. I want to grab my Oracle deck. And I always wanted to do a reading on it, but lately I've been really feeling like I'm being called to do a reading on his. So instead of just thinking about it, I decided I'm just gonna do it. So while I was rewatching the documentary a couple days ago, I was shuffling my cards, my deck right here that I like to shuffle when I'm watching certain things like unsolved cases and whatnot. And certain cards were coming out that kind of shocked me a little bit. So if these certain cards come out again, I will explain. But I realized when I created my Oracle deck, I forgot some things that, it's my ignorance, that I forgot these things, such as racism and hate crimes, stuff like that. I did not put in my Oracle deck, and I'm kind of kicking myself for it. So I have some blank cards coming that I'm going to be creating more specific crime-related cards that I'll add into these readings. But in place of the hate crime and racism, the card that has religion, occult, and something else on it, if that comes out, that to me is my racism card and my hate crime card. So I'll explain why. All right. So let's do a reading on Sam Cooke. Oh boy. Love triangle. News and information planned out. So the way this went down is that Sam Cooke was out and about, hanging out with some friends at a bar, and then next thing you know, he was found at a really cheap, gross motel where he supposedly took a hooker and supposedly tried to sexually assault her. All of this apparently happened really fast. She ran out of the room, took his clothes for some reason, and when he went to go talk to the manager and find out what happened, he apparently attacked this manager, and she shot him and then beat him with a broom handle. So it's really suspicious because none of it makes sense. Like, why would a very famous black artist who was making good money, why would he need to buy a hooker? Not saying it's not possible. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of celebrities out there who buy their love, but it just didn't make sense at the time. Why would he take her to a really crappy motel? And he was apparently in the shower when she had stated that he was trying to assault her, and it doesn't make sense as to why this manager had supposedly shot him and then put down the gun to pick up a broomstick to beat him. It just didn't make sense. And when they reviewed autopsy photos or photos taken of the crime scene, his kneecaps were broken. And to me, that's indicative of the times where racist people would beat black people as a form of killing them. Like, they would beat them to death. You know, you see that in that poor boy, Till. I can't think of his first name. Till. They just created a movie about it, where he was beat to death. So it was just the times back then where people would beat black folks and it was okay, which I think is absolutely horrible. So the woman who supposedly shot Sam Cooke was an African American woman who was from a rougher part of town. And then the hooker was Asian. I believe she was Asian. And it doesn't make sense. So love triangle to me makes complete sense. Between the hooker and him, and supposedly he had gotten into a business deal with the man of a record label, a very prominent record company. I can't think of his name. Frankly, I don't want to say his name because I really don't want to get sued by any means of that. And he had sneakily took over Sam Cooke's rights to his music, to his artistry, everything. And Sam Cooke was very well known for wanting to be his own creator. He wanted to be in charge of all of his own labels and creations and productions. And this man came in and literally stole it out from underneath him, and Sam Cooke didn't realize it until it was a little too late. And it was known that Sam Cooke was going to cut off and fight this guy on all of the stuff that he had done. And just a few days later, Sam Cooke wound up dead. So to me, that's planned out. Sam Cooke found out about it. The search and rescue, I feel as though that was a group of people who had attacked Sam. You might be thinking, search and rescue, why would that be a group of people that would attack him? My cards aren't always exactly what they say. I'm pulling out what I'm seeing. I am reading the cards, not necessarily the cards are telling me what is happening. I'm reading them. So to me, search and rescue is they didn't have proof that something happened elsewhere. My cards are saying that this happened elsewhere. He was taken by a group of people, shot and killed, and then brought back to the scene or taken to the hotel. That's what I'm getting from this. So the hitchhiking to me is the hooker prostitute. The planned out premeditated, the pregnant here is the idea. Like, okay, I planned it, now I've created it. So whoever planned it acted on it. The childhood children, the love triangle, child children. To me, this is a love triangle between, I thought it was, to me, when I first looked at this, it looked like the hooker, Sam Cooke, and whatever happened that night. But now to me, it's saying it was Sam Cooke, the record label, and this guy who took over it. And the child or children is the birth or the creation of that triangle. What was going on between them. The contracts, the copyrights, etc. This guy, if you watch that, you will see exactly how these cards are fitting in. Like, it's totally fitting what's going on here. Oh. Alcohol, yes, Sam Cooke had been drinking that night. He was out with his friends, having a good time, out with his buddies, out at a bar. It could have been nearby the bar that this happened, or near the hotel that all of this took place, and then he was placed at the hotel. It was a very shady part of town. I'm going to do one more row here. Oop. Husband, wife. So leading up to all of this, it was as if this guy had charismatically, almost like a car salesman, had talked Sam Cooke into doing things. And only somebody like a husband or a wife could do that to somebody. And that's the type of feeling I'm getting by this guy, is that he was able to talk himself into things. Self-harm, suicide. To me, this is like him trying to back out from getting this information. Him trying to back out was like it was suicidal of him to try and do that. Like, he was not asking for it, but that's the way it's coming across. Like, if you're going to back out of this contract or back out of this deal with this guy, you're asking for trouble type of deal. And back then, that was a big deal. Back then, black artists weren't allowed to have their own record labels. They weren't allowed to produce their own music. They weren't allowed. That's a bunch of horse shit, but that's what I'm getting from this. Blood, DNA, evidence, and hair. The crime scene was not done completely. It was hurried. It was as if certain people were involved and they knew what had happened, but they were trying not necessarily to cover it up, but just do a bad job of working it out, if that makes sense. A bad job of covering the scene. Drowned, to me, does not mean like he actually drowned with water in his lungs. To me, this is, had he not been drinking, he might have been okay. It doesn't say that he was like absolutely drunk, but what I'm saying is that had he been in his right mind, he might not have gotten stuck in a situation that ended his life. If that makes sense. All right. Sorry, I'm moving my cards here. All right, last card here. Okay, 2 last cards. Passerby, stranger. I have no doubt in my mind that this prostitute had been in the vicinity when this happened, and she was paid off. Supposedly, a private detective had found her years later, and she almost verbatim cited her exact testimony. And she was allowed to wear sunglasses on the stand, which was, I've never seen anybody allowed to wear sunglasses on the stand. The bottom of the deck, we have bad feeling, deja vu, stalker, living room. I'm going with the bad feeling, deja vu, gut feeling. To me, a gut feeling is that something wasn't right here. It wasn't right the way that he died. It wasn't right. It feels as though they covered it up. Thankfully, the hate crime card did not come out that I had noticed, but that doesn't mean that hate crime wasn't involved. That doesn't mean that racism wasn't involved. It just means that it didn't come out. That's all. Like I said, when I was watching the documentary, I'm kind of in the zone, and I enjoy pulling cards when I'm doing stuff like that because I feel very relaxed. That it did not surprise me that the occult card, religion, it was like occult, religion, and something else had popped out. And to me, that was like indicative of the Triple K crew. You know what I mean by Triple K. I don't want to say too much. I don't want my YouTube channel to be canceled. But there's a very, very good possibility that the guy that he was in cahoots with for his production company and music and whatnot, that he might have been a white supremacist of some kind in that sense. Okay. Sam Cooke was in it. He was in it to win it. He knew how to make people feel with his music. He had vision. He had drive. He knew where he was going with it. And I think that not necessarily scared other artists. Man, I cannot. I think it made them jealous because he knew how to play the game. He knew what to expect. Let's get some more cards here. Tell me about Sam Cooke's death. It's very humid in my house, and my cards are a little sticky. See, I like the way that fell. I like the way that fell. Why? Because to me, that's saying he died from his vision. He died for his dreams. I know death isn't supposed to mean death, but in reality, it really does mean death. Why? Because in order for rebirth, you have to die. In order for growth, there needs to be change. And what happens when you change? A death of an idea, a death of a habit, a death of certain aspects in order for that growth to happen. So to me, this is saying, yes, he died for his dream. Let's see what else comes out. A lot of cards want to flip over, but they're not. Super sticky. I mean, this is a very glossy deck, but it's very sticky. It was quick. Not his death was quick. The way this planned out, the way it happened, the planning, the action of it, it was very quick. It was something that, you know, I guess he had been talking about wanting to end the contracts and whatnot with this guy, and then only a few days later he had died or was found dead or was murdered. So to me, this is saying that it was very fast. There was no time to plan it out even further. So in actuality, there's a possibility that they could have found the DNA or evidence, whatever it was that they needed. I also want to note that in my opinion, I have a feeling that his kneecaps were broken, his knees were broken, and then he was shot. That's just my gut feeling on it. I feel as though he was shot in the armpit, down through his lungs, through his heart, and then down to the bottom of his other lung. And to me, that tells me that he was down lower than his shooter, down lower than the gun that was aimed at him. And this lady that supposedly shot him in a hurried fashion, she doesn't look that big. She doesn't look like a big woman. So it just doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's get 2 more cards here. Okay, not 2 more cards. It's never exactly how many I want it to pop out. It's always more. All right, so we have the Fool card. Very sticky cards. Urgh. To me, it's always going to be kept a secret. Whoever did it, it's going to be kept a secret. It's somebody who's very immature at the time. They were willing to be bought or taken advantage of. Naive. Just a lot of immaturity. A lot of ignorance. That's what I get. A lot of ignorance. I don't have any cards that are saying somebody's going to get theirs, or, you know, karma's going to come around, or it's going to stay hidden. We will never know the truth unless the prostitute or the woman who supposedly shot him come forward with it. This is one of the things that we will never know what really happened that night. At the bottom of the deck, we have the 2 of Pentacles. It's I look at this and I think of a dunce cap. Like, we're going to play dumb. We're going to play dumb like we have no idea what really happened. And that's a shame. That's a shame. So I'm going to use the Dark Romance Oracle. The reason I'm using this deck is because I really like the prompts, the keywords. So let's pull some. Let's see what pops out. Oop. Sorry, my son wanted me to open a piece of candy. Okay. His love of music is really, sadly, what killed him. His love of being a businessman, a creator, somebody who manifested his dreams. And it's sad because his family will never see the royalties from his work because this guy that he was in business with, like, ruined it all. We have synchronicity and grieving. I'm not really looking at the synchronicity word. I'm looking at the card itself and how he's looking up to the sky and at the birds that are flying around. It's like, it's a possibility he saw this coming. Like, he didn't want to believe it was going to happen. But I have a feeling deep down that deja vu, that gut feeling, I have a feeling he knew that the times that he was growing up in, you know, there's always hope that things will change. There's always hope that people will grow and do better and be better. But I think he knew that it was kind of a shot in the dark. No pun intended. And then we have grieving. I mean, it's a serious, great loss. He was an artist that was bound to do a lot of great many things. He had a lot of artists that he had hoped to have under his belt. I mean, we got multiple people here. And this person in the background, even though it looks like a family portrait, it's more like I'm in charge of these people and I'm going to help them live their dreams too. By the way, I didn't know if you knew this, but I guess these hats came from women who create or made beer or something along those lines, which I thought was interesting. And I'm going to pull one pink card. One pink card, please. Or not. One pink card, please. The Golden Mirror. Self-absorbed, narcissist, one-sided relationship, love bombing. That, in a nutshell, describes their relationship. It was definitely one-sided. This guy was very self-absorbed. He was also the guy who broke up the Beatles and some other band. I can't remember what they're called. But he was ruthless. So the love bombing, the love triangle, to me, this tells me that this guy pretended to love their dreams as much as they did and would take advantage of that. And in the end, it either broke them up or got them killed. How sad is that? So that is the reading on Sam Cooke. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button. Let me know your thoughts on this whole situation and how you feel about it. I will link the documentary or whatever you want to call it in the description box below. You know, watch it. Let me know what you think about it. And come back for another video.